Hello, hello, welcome back. Let's get this party started. I'm J. Herrera Cayman. This is Twilight in the Wizard Study. Welcome back. If you're just stumbling upon this video or this channel, don't go away now. You are in the right place. So come on in, have a seat, make yourself at home. We're going to do a little reading today, and glad you found the place. All right. Now, I want to read the opening passage today of this book right here. This is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. Now, this is the English language translation by J. Rubin. So, to say that this book left a deep impact on me would be the understatement of the century. This book changed my life. Seriously. This book showed me things. It showed me these limitless possibilities of what you could do as a writer, unbounded by the limitations of language. And, you know, what's so funny about that is that maybe it needed to be a work of literature in translation that kind of redefined my relationship with the English language, that showed me what could exist in the English language beyond, you know, its usual structures and limitations. So before we dive into a passage, I just want to talk about a couple things to do with literature and translation. So this book, as I mentioned, is translated from the Japanese by translator J. Rubin. And J. Rubin does a bang-up job in this book, but I mean, I say that, I don't really know. I mean, I have not read the original Japanese text of this book, and I wish I could, but I don't speak or read Japanese. Now, I am aware that to get the full version of this book, the full, proper, original version of the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle as written by Haruki Murakami, I would have to read the original version in Japanese. Because J. Rubin had Murakami's blessing to alter certain things, change certain things, or even omit certain things. And there are entire passages that did not make their way into the English translation of this book. And that breaks my heart, you know. But the only solution, the only thing you can do as someone who wants to read the proper original text is to learn the language in which the original text was written in and then read it in that original language. Maybe I will do that someday. I don't currently speak or read Japanese, so it would take a while to learn the language well enough to read a book like this in it. This same thing, this is not, it's not just for Murakami. A lot of literature and translation is like this. I mean, one of my favorite, series of books from recent years is Cixin Liu's Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy. You know, The Three-Body Problem, The Dark Forest, and Death's End. Those books, the English translations are slightly different from, you know, what happens in those books in the original Mandarin. If you want to get the full original version of those books, you have to read them in Mandarin. But that's not to say the English translation is not equally worth reading. I mean, there's a reason that these authors give these translators their blessings to alter the text, because, you know, the translated work has to play to the language's strengths. Whatever language it's being read in, it has to play that language's strengths. And the strengths of Japanese as a language will be somewhat different from the strengths of English as a language. So these translators have to have the freedom to alter the text somewhat. So, you know, that's all just to say that, you know, this edition of the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, you know, it's not quite the full original text, but it's as close as you can get as an English language reader. So just an interesting side note about literature and translation. And that's enough rambling. Without further ado, let's check out the opening passage of Haruki Murakami's The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, as translated by J. Rubin. Book 1, The Thieving Magpie, June and July, 1984. Chapter 1. Tuesday's wind-up bird. 6 fingers and 4 breasts. When the phone rang, I was in the kitchen, boiling a pot full of spaghetti and whistling along with an FM broadcast of the overture to Rossini's The Thieving Magpie, which has to be the perfect music for cooking pasta. I wanted to ignore the phone, not only because the spaghetti was nearly done, but because Claudio Abbado was bringing the London Symphony to its musical climax. Finally, though, I had to give in. It could have been somebody with news of a job opening. I lowered the flame, went to the living room, and picked up the receiver. 10 minutes, please, said a woman on the other end. I'm good at recognizing people's voices, but this was not one I knew. Excuse me, to whom did you wish to speak? To you, of course. 10 minutes, please. That's all we need to understand each other. Her voice was low and soft, but otherwise nondescript. Understand each other? Each other's feelings. I leaned over and peeked through the kitchen door. The spaghetti pot was steaming nicely, and Claudio Abbado was still conducting The Thieving Magpie. Sorry, but you caught me in the middle of making spaghetti. Can I ask you to call back later? Spaghetti? What are you doing cooking spaghetti at 10:30 in the morning? That's none of your business, I said. I decide what I eat and when I eat it. True enough. I'll call back, she said, her voice now flat and expressionless. A little change in mood can do amazing things to the tone of a person's voice. Hold on a minute, I said, before she could hang up. If this is some new sales gimmick, you can forget it. I'm out of work. I'm not in the market for anything. Don't worry. I know. You know? You know what? That you're out of work. I know about that. So go cook your precious spaghetti. Who the hell? She cut the connection. With no outlet for my feelings, I stared at the phone in my hand until I remembered the spaghetti. Back in the kitchen, I turned off the gas and poured the contents of the pot into a colander. Thanks to the phone call, the spaghetti was a little softer than al dente, but it had not been dealt a mortal blow. I started eating and thinking. Understand each other? Understand each other's feelings in 10 minutes? What was she talking about? Maybe it was just a prank call. Or some new sales pitch. In any case, it had nothing to do with me. After lunch, I went back to my library novel on the living room sofa, glancing every now and then at the telephone. What were we supposed to understand about each other in 10 minutes? What can 2 people understand about each other in 10 minutes? Come to think of it, she seemed awfully sure about those 10 minutes. It was the first thing out of her mouth. As if 9 minutes would be too short or 11 minutes too long, like cooking spaghetti al dente. I couldn't read anymore. I decided to iron shirts instead. Which is what I always do when I'm upset. It's an old habit. I divide the job into 12 precise stages. Beginning with the collar, outer surface, and ending with the left hand cuff. The order is always the same, and I count off each stage to myself. Otherwise, it won't come out right. I ironed 3 shirts, checking them over for wrinkles and putting them on hangers. Once I had switched off the iron and put it away with the ironing board in the hall closet, my mind felt a good deal clearer. I was on my way to the kitchen for a glass of water when the phone rang again. I hesitated for a second, but decided to answer it. If it was the same woman, I would tell her I was ironing and hang up. This time it was Kumiko. The wall clock said 11:30. How are you? She asked. Fine, I said, relieved to hear my wife's voice. What are you doing? Just finishing ironing. What's wrong? There was a note of tension in her voice. She knew what it meant for me to be ironing. Nothing. I was just ironing some shirts. I sat down and shifted the receiver from my left hand to my right. What's up? Can you write poetry? She asked. Poetry? Poetry? Did she mean poetry? I know the publisher of a story magazine for girls. They're looking for somebody to pick and revise poems submitted by readers, and they want the person to write a short poem every month for the frontispiece. Pay's not bad for an easy job. Of course it's part-time, but they might add some editorial work if the person... Easy work, I broke in. Hey, wait a minute. I'm looking for something in law, not poetry. I thought you did some writing in high school. Yeah, sure, for the school's newspaper. Which team won the soccer championship, or how the physics teacher fell down the stairs and ended up in the hospital. That kind of stuff. Not poetry. I can't write poetry. Sure, but I'm not talking about great poetry. Just something for high school girls. It doesn't have to find a place in literary history. You could do it with your eyes closed. Don't you see? Look, I just can't write poetry. Eyes open or closed. I've never done it, and I'm not going to start now. All right, said Kumiko, with a hint of regret. But it's hard to find legal work. I know. That's why I've got so many feelers out. I should be hearing something this week. If it's no go, I'll think about doing something else. Well, I suppose that's that. By the way, what's today? What day of the week? I thought a moment and said, Tuesday. Then will you go to the bank and pay the gas and telephone? Sure. I was just about to go shopping for dinner anyway. What are you planning to make? I don't know yet. I'll decide when I'm shopping. She paused. Come to think of it, she said with a new seriousness, there's no great hurry about your finding a job. This caught me off guard. Why's that? I asked. Had the women of the world chosen today to surprise me on the telephone? My unemployment's going to run out sooner or later. I can't keep hanging around forever. True, but with my raise and occasional side jobs and our savings, we can get by okay if we're careful. There's no real emergency. Do you hate staying at home like this and doing housework? I mean, is this life so wrong for you? I don't know, I answered honestly. I really didn't know. Well, take your time and give it some thought, she said. Anyhow, has the cat come back? The cat. I hadn't thought about the cat all morning. No, I said, not yet. Can you please have a look around the neighborhood? It's been gone over a week now. I gave a non-committal grunt and shifted the receiver back to my left hand. She went on. I'm almost certain it's hanging around the empty house at the other end of the alley, the one with the bird statue in the yard. I've seen it in there several times. The alley. Since when have you been going to the alley? You've never said anything. Oops, got to run. Lots of work to do. Don't forget about the cat. She hung up. I found myself staring at the receiver again. Then I set it down in its cradle. I wondered what had brought Kumiko to the alley. To get there from our house, you had to climb over the cinder block wall, and once you'd made the effort, there was no point in being there. I went to the kitchen for a glass of water, then out to the veranda to look at the cat's dish. The mound of sardines was untouched from last night. No, the cat had not come back. I stood there looking at our small garden with the early summer sunshine streaming into it. Not that ours was the kind of garden that gives you spiritual solace to look at. The sun managed to find its way in there for the smallest fraction of each day, so the earth was always black and moist. And all we had by way of garden plants were a few drab hydrangeas in one corner, and I don't like hydrangeas. There was a small stand of trees nearby, and from it you could hear the mechanical cry of a bird that sounded as if it were winding a spring. We called it the wind-up bird. Kumiko gave it a name. We didn't know what it was really called, or what it looked like, but that didn't bother the wind-up bird. Every day, it would come to the stand of trees in our neighborhood and wind the spring of our quiet little world. So now I had to go cat hunting. I had always liked cats, and I liked this particular cat, but cats have their own way of living. They're not stupid. If a cat stopped living where you happened to be, that meant it had decided to go somewhere else. If it got tired and hungry, it would come back. Finally, though, to keep Kumiko happy, I would have to go looking for our cat. I had nothing better to do. And that is the opening passage of Haruki Murakami's The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you enjoyed. I hope this made you intrigued to read this book. It's very much worth the time to read the whole thing. Um, so I want to talk a little bit about the significance of this passage, because there's a lot going on. There's a lot to untangle here. So I want to talk about the relationship between the ordinary and the extraordinary as Haruki Murakami explores it in this passage. So this passage, this opening of the book, it gives us a number of things that are just staples of the ordinary, of normal, day-to-day, mundane, suburban life. Cooking spaghetti, ironing shirts, the phone ringing, right? These things are just, they are elements of an ordinary, uneventful, unexciting day, right? But every time one of these elements is presented, there's something wrong. So, our main character is cooking spaghetti, and yet he is told that it's too early in the day to be cooking spaghetti, and, the woman on the phone who tells him this, she might have a point. Spaghetti is not a breakfast food. Why is he cooking it so early? But of course, he has an explanation that puts any weirdness to rest. I eat when I want to eat. Ironing shirts. He irons shirts because something's wrong. So he tells his wife he's ironing shirts. His wife immediately picks up that this means something is wrong. And we have, what day is it? It's Tuesday, an ordinary day of the week. Why did she have to ask him that? Right? Something's off here. And then she gives him these tasks, go to the bank, pay the gas, pay the telephone bill. She asks him an ordinary question. What are you planning to make for dinner? These questions, these elements, are painfully ordinary. By that, I mean there's a pain. There's a pain to this ordinariness, a hurt. This passage reminds me a lot of David Lynch's Blue Velvet, particularly the opening montage of that film. One of my favorite films. Like in Blue Velvet and with the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, we're shown a peaceful slice of suburbia that masks, a deeper, darker reality, which sometimes bleeds through. And because that knowledge is, because we have that knowledge, what is ordinary on the surface becomes frightening, because we must ask ourselves, we are compelled to ask ourselves, what is it lurking beneath that? That ordinary thing, a man cooking spaghetti, or ironing shirts, the phone ringing on an ordinary Tuesday. All of these things, everything is off. Everything is off kilter, but whatever is truly wrong is elusive. It's out of reach. Maybe it's unknowable. And so this is an important aspect of how Haruki Murakami sort of lures you into his spell. He casts this spell with the Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, and with this opening passage, he very much is inviting you in to something that is going to be a lot darker, a lot more disturbing than you can tell based on the info that you've been given. You just know something deep and dark is lurking within this, but you don't know what it is. And at the same time, you were probably drawn, because Haruki Murakami has this amazing ability to just make things that are mundane just addictive to read. So our main character making spaghetti, we want to know more about this spaghetti. And Murakami provides us the detail that because of everything that happens in this passage, the spaghetti ends up being slightly overcooked, slightly soft. So we are taken on this journey with the spaghetti. We are given this answer to our question. Well, what is the significance of the spaghetti? The significance is that he cooked it for too long because he was distracted by these other things, because he shouldn't have been cooking spaghetti in the first place. Or maybe he should have been. What business is it of mine? This is a guy who wants to eat what he wants to eat, but he knows that something's off with it too. So this is all part of the magic trick that Haruki Murakami plays with his fiction, with his prose. So that's basically all I've got to say on the subject. That's The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, the opening passage at least. I hope this video makes you intrigued to read on in the book. It comes most highly recommended by me. And yeah. All right, I think that's all I got for today. This one got a little more long-winded than usual. I hope that's okay. And if you stuck through to the end, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. I appreciate you taking the time to watch me ramble in this little corner of YouTube. So, with that being said, yeah, that's all I got for today. Take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay, bye for now.